goals, if you're playing at Power League, if you're on the streets in South London, if you're in the favelas in Rio de Janeiro, high rises of Tokyo, wherever you're playing five-a-side football, this is the team that you need to pick. And it's going to be a Manchester United and a Tottenham combined team. So, you being our special guest today, Joe, I will allow you the choice of picking a wild card. So you can pick anyone you want.
Thank you.
And my other rule is you can't pick the same player, obviously, because they're facing against one another. It's not FIFA. It's going to be like pretend real life type thing as well. So you can't have the same player on both teams.
And are we going past and present?
Past and present, because if we just did present, it'd be a bit dull and it would be a bit contemporary. We're going through past and we're going through the present as well. So if you want to pick Christian Eriksen in his Spurs days, I don't mind that at all. I can't then pick Christian Eriksen in his Man United present. So yeah, that's the kind of thing it has to go.
Okay, so the problem we've got obviously is past and present is Manchester United have got a past and Spurs not so much, apart from a League Cup and a Carling Cup.
David Ginola as well.
Oh, legend. Absolute legend. I've got a good story about David Ginola, actually.
Go for it.
Got time.
No, I've got time. Go for it.
So I was at an event, right? We were waiting to do an interview with Taylor Swift, who turned up and never did any interviews. So it was almost a wasted evening. But I'm stood there like with the cameraman waiting, and in bowls David Ginola with his wife and his daughter, and I was like, you know, it's a footballer you love growing up. I was like, my brain knew it was David Ginola, but I couldn't quite process it. And then also like this memory appeared in my mind that when Tottenham won the Worthington Cup, so the League Cup in 1999, I was at Wembley with my family, and David Ginola took his shirt off and waved. And my mum turned to the family and was like, oh my God, he waved at me. He waved at me. I was like, Mum, we're like 70 rows back. There's no, she's like maintained this for her whole life. She's like, he waved at me. He waved. I'm telling you, he waved at me.
Oh my God.
I was like, this is my chance, right? So I went up to him. I was like, David, man, I've got to say, like, I'm a huge Spurs fan. I was there when we won the Worthington Cup in 1999. And my mum was in the crowd too. And she said that you waved at her. And he was like, okay, get your phone out. He's like, okay, record the video. So I'm like filming a video. It's me and David Ginola. He's just like, hello, Laura. It's David Ginola here. I would just like to say that all those years, you were right. It was you I was waving at, Laura. It's always been you. I was like, oh, Dad?
Shout out Laura, shout out David Ginola. Oh my God, imagine her hype after all these years when she's like, yeah, I got proved right. That's insane.
I sent it to her. She put it on Facebook and she's just like, told ya. She believed it. Oh man. But
oh my days.
But I'm not putting David in as the wild card.
Okay.
So one man I'm going for, and I don't think there can be any debate around this. Luka Modric.
Thank God. I thought you were going to go for Ronaldo, but yeah, Luka Modric, man. Ronaldo's my wild card, so that's spoiler. But Luka Modric, talk to me about him at his Spurs days as well, because again, he was someone where he would play as a winger sometimes because you had Huddleston, Jermaine Genius, Palacios as your centre midfielders, but Harry Redknapp would sometimes play as a right winger, a left winger. You'd have Crenshaw as your attacking midfielder. Gareth Bale was starting to come as a left midfielder. Yep. But what was it about Luka Modric that kind of encapsulated the kind of growth at Spurs? Because if you remember correctly, and I'm sure you do, he was one of your main catalysts for getting into that Champions League position as well.
Yeah, it was a real transition. So kind of from Martin Jol, to be honest, was the big turning point. Martin Jol getting a bit of Europa League football. I can't remember if it was to the UEFA Cup then, but whatever. Kind of growing as a team, like you say, Carrick, Huddleston, Genius, that really good English team, into the Redknapp era with Crenshaw, Modric, my all-time favourite Spurs player, Rafael van der Vaart. And it was just for the first time, we were attracting players who other clubs really wanted. And so like Luka Modric came from Dinamo Zagreb when he was 22. And he was really hot property throughout Europe. Loads of teams were looking at him. He ended up at Spurs. Absolutely incredible. And I think within about 2 or 3 months, you know, you look at a player, and certainly as a Tottenham fan, I don't know if it's happened as a Manchester United fan, but you think, we'll do well to hold on to you for more than a couple of years. Because it's a cliche, but some cliches in football are true. He looked like he had more space than anybody else. He's not a particularly fast player, but he just moves and he finds himself in little pockets of space that the opposition don't read. And he's there on the ball, looks up, and it feels like he's playing, everyone else is running in treacle, and he's just floating above them. He looks... Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, he had that. There's that cheat code. I think Bruno Fernandes mentioned it recently. He had that cheat code of playing where the referee is because no one marks the referee. So he was always in acres of space as a centre midfielder, more so when he's playing as a winger, when he would be just around the referee, which allowed him a lot more space, a lot more time, and kind of playing the game in slow motion.
Yeah.
The poetry he has as a footballer is unbelievable. And the fact that he's had that longevity of doing it from Dinamo Zagreb, being in that
Mm.
Croatia side that knocked out England in Euro 2008 qualifiers, to then move to Spurs around the same kind of time, and then play for Real Madrid for all the time that he did. Outstanding.
Yeah, one of the greats as far as I'm concerned, and just like what I describe as a beautiful footballer. Just somebody who you could, if you stood on the sidelines, you're like, oh man, I could watch him with the ball at his feet all day. So yeah, genius.
What's your favorite memory of Luka Modric?
So probably the commentator described it as the goal made in Croatia.
Mm.
So it's out. I can't remember who we're playing, and off the top of my head, I think it's Pompey. That might be wrong, but it's Modric, Kranjčar, and Chorluka down the right wing, and Modric's on the edge of the area. Kranjčar's like wide on the right, and Chorluka's a little bit behind him, and they play a little triangle among the three of them, and it comes back to Luka Modric, who hits it first time, and it goes in off the bar. So I love in off the bar, Yeboah. Like anyway, absolutely love that, and it's a beautiful thing. I remember the commentator being like, "Oh, there you go, a goal made in Croatia," and I was like, "Oh, Tottenham are pretty good, aren't we?"
Needs to do more scouting in Croatia, in my opinion, as well. There's so many young, talented players coming out from there as well, which needs to be recognised and hyped up about. But no, Luka Modric, fantastic choice, and someone who I really should have gone for more. I would have gone for him. He was in my first pick as a midfielder. But we go for Cristiano Ronaldo. He loves scoring a goal against Tottenham, not against Man United, but for Real Madrid as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how you kind of combat Cristiano Ronaldo. Do you go for a goalkeeper? Do you go for a defender with rush goalkeeper? How do you go about it, Joe?
That's what I was going to say, because a keeper is sort of a waste, aren't they, in five-a-side?
You know it. People want to go and show off their intelligence of going for a keeper. You got five-a-side for a reason. You have 4 outfield players or 5 outfield players with rush. That's how it goes. But
yeah,
how would you go about it?
I think, right. So I mean, am I allowed to pick United players as well?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I'd probably put Rio Ferdinand as rush keeper.
That's cool.
So it's hard because you want to play Ferdinand, you want to play Vidic. I'm a huge Ledley King fan. I think Ledley King is a fantastic player.
Oh, we've done a podcast on Ledley King a couple of years ago when we first started this podcast, and we talk about how Ledley King was one of the best players to ever play football with one knee. So it goes to show that he's such a Rolls Royce of a player. How he couldn't play football with his kids at home, how he couldn't sit on a plane properly on the way back from like European games and stuff like that. How he never really trained as well.
He did swimming, didn't he? That's all he could do.
That's all he could do, and he survived the way he did as a footballer for an immense amount of time. And being a Spurs ambassador, being a coach as well under Jose Mourinho, goes to show how well he did as a Tottenham player and Tottenham captain, Tottenham legend.
Yeah, absolute legend. I think you can't look past Rio though. I mean, because you obviously look at Vidic as well. Rio, bet with the ball at his feet, going to be a better five-a-side player. Probably going to do. It'd be a bit handier if he does need to go in nets as well. And pretty much at the height of his powers, pretty much the perfect centre back, you'd say. So
yeah,
stick him in there.
I'm not going to go for a centre back, and I'm not going to go for a goalkeeper. I'm going to go for someone who people will be like, "Why did you pick him?" But I can't look past Kyle Walker. Honestly.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
I know he's a Manchester City player. I know he's won the title numerous times with Manchester City. But he's someone who you remember in his Spurs days, quick as anything, probably one of the quickest players in the world at the time, I would say. Injury free as well, which is really good to see. Him and Kieran Trippier compete against each other. Big factor in that successful, or somewhat successful Mauricio Pochettino side and in that title charge as well. So someone to have on a 5-a-side pitch with the most recoveries from whoever you're going to have up front. Kyle Walker will be there to combat them. So Kyle Walker's in my team.
See, that's good for 5-a-side as well. Like, it rewards speed and fitness. So, like, if you've got to recover, if, say, we're bombing forward, we lose the ball.
I know I'm not recovering. I'm rather sitting at the back or just letting someone else deal with it.
Or, no, I'm the one who's standing there with his hands on his knees, hyperventilating, because the attack's taking it out of me. So I've got to walk back.
Those 7 steps are too much for me, Joe. I need a breather.
You know that when you do that little burst because you think you can win the ball and they pass around you and you're like, that's it, I'm done for 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy. We record our 5-a-side games as well. So when we play occasionally, I'll wear a GoPro and then you get to actually watch our actual game. So I'll send you the link later as well. You can see me you can just hear a soundtrack of me hyperventilating at like 2 minutes in. So I'm like, I'm not hiding that. I'm not going to edit away. That's the truth. That's the reality of it. And I'll just let other people score and win the ball. I'll be like, yes, our team's winning. And I'll be like the Jordan Henderson hype man of the team. So it'll be quite good to see how that kind of goes as well.
I love that when you're playing 11-a-side or whatever, or 5-a-side, and your football team scores and you're like proper celebrating. You're like, hang on, I haven't touched the ball for 5 minutes. I had nothing to do with that goal.
I've been man marking. That's all I've been doing, which is okay. I've been reading the game from the back, which has been good. But yeah, I'll go back to you as well. Who are you going to go for? Another defender, or are you going to go for a midfielder and start going through your attack?
So this is our who have we got? We got Modric, Ferdinand, Walker, Ronaldo. This is our last player.
No. As in, like, you can go for another midfielder afterwards, or you can go for
Yeah.
just a defender. But it's your choice how you want to set up the team as well. So if you want to go for the rest of strikers, you can. If you want to go for the rest of after this, you can go for the rest of strikers, but you have to go for a defender, midfielder, and then whoever you want after that.
So I'm kind of see the thing is I'm thinking about who's going to be a good five-a-side player, and I think Wayne Rooney because
Fudge sake.
but
I promised my wife I wouldn't swear on the podcast anymore. So for fudge sake, man.
what you don't like Wayne?
No, I love Wayne, but Wayne on your team as opposed to mine, he's like my favorite player from Man United in history. So I have to go for Wayne Rooney. I should have gone for him as a player, but he loves scoring a goal against Spurs. So for you to have him on your team with Rio Ferdinand behind him and Luka Modric assisting him, that's looking pretty good, Joe. I have to say.
And also playing five-a-side, someone who's really strong and let's face it, rough and tumble is very handy. Like because when someone like I mean, obviously they're on the same team. But your kind of Modric style players gets on the ball, looks up, someone who just wallops them straight into the side hoardings like that. Rooney would be a good five-a-side player.
100%. I think he's the ultimate five-a-side player from England. If you had to show anyone, if you had to do like a gold medal, gold standard type of five-a-side player from every nation, Wayne Rooney would be the quintessential five-a-side player.
Yeah, I agree with that.
From England as well. Fantastic choice. And yeah, shout out to my wife for making sure I don't swear on the podcast anymore and upsetting our neighbors. Next one, who have we got? Who should I go for? I'm torn between a few players. I don't think I can go for him just yet because his class as an attacker for you, so I can't go for him just yet. You've gone for Luka Modric, who I thought was an outstanding player. I think I have to throw it back, and it has to be more of a favourable one for me. I think I'm going to go for two midfielders. One of them I'm going to go for first because I don't want you to steal and being a Spurs player. I have to go for Moussa Dembele.
Oh, what a good shout. I'd forgotten about Musa. Yeah, that's a really good shout.
I have to go for Moussa Dembele. I think
you can have Musa Sissoko.
No, I'm good. I'm good. You can keep Moussa Sissoko. You can keep him if you want to. You can have him as a bench warmer if you need to, as that guy that you have on WhatsApp. Being like, we may need a player later on. We may need a player.
He just loves all the jokes in the WhatsApp group. He's there for morale.
Yeah, he's there like, I'll come next week. Yeah, sure you will, Moussa. Sure you will. Sure you will. But no, I've got the real Moussa Dembele, who amazing. Again, Pochettino just loved. I loved watching him play. I had the luxury of watching him 2-3 times at Old Trafford, and he was just a player you're screaming at on Twitter saying, Man United, please sign this guy. He's doing this at Old Trafford in your own home. £40 million bid. Do it. We're having the likes of who did we have in midfield? Like Ander Herrera, Marouane Fellaini, Morgan Schneiderlin. Michael Carrick was on his way out as well. Shout out Michael Carrick, by the way.
Yeah, it's good.
But Moussa Dembele was someone who could attack. He could defend. He was an all-action midfielder. He could string so many cute passes together. And for a five-a-side team with Ronaldo up front, with Kyle Walker behind him, it's got to be done. I have to throw him in there. And it's now begged the question that we both have 2 picks each. We have 2 picks each, Joe. And I'm not sure we're going to get away with this because there'll be so many people going out saying, why didn't you pick this person? Why didn't you pick this person? But this is going to be a tough choice. And this is why I wanted it to be a five-a-side. And this is why I wanted it to be a past and a present because we're going to leave out so many big names because of who we generally want on the team. So just to remind our listeners, I've got Kyle Walker, Moussa Dembele, and I've got 2 spots left with Cristiano Ronaldo as my striker. Joe, you have Rio Ferdinand, you have Luka Modric, and you have
Wayne Rooney
up front. So choice is yours, my friend. Who are you going for?
So technically this is a striker, but can also just say Dembele, great shout. Perfect five-a-side player. He's the guy that means you don't have to play 2 midfielders because he can do everything.
He's the kind of guy that I was like, do I pick Roy Keane or do I pick Dembele? Because Roy Keane can just yeet everyone into row Z of these five-a-side or in the nets if you're at Power League.
Yeah.
Because you've got Luka Modric, I need someone to combat that. And the best person to combat that by holding on to the ball and beating the press is Moussa Dembele.
So I'll tell you what, I want to pick Harry Kane, but I'm going to play him potentially in the midfield. Because what he showed, I mean, he can drift between, it's not a big pitch, is it? So he can drift between the centre forward position and playing alongside Luka. Because what he showed last year was he can do absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And I would say maybe bar De Bruyne, bar Trent Alexander-Arnold's got maybe the best range of passing in the Premier League. Some of his play, particularly when Spurs played City at the Etihad and beat them, 3-1.
Glorious game.
He was outstanding and literally got on the ball on the centre spot every time and just quarterbacked it around the pitch. And one of the best individual performances I've seen from a Spurs player. I think he's the best player to ever play for the club. And yeah, I think he could do a bit of everything at five-a-side. And also, if it's a penalty, then he's your man.
Those one-step penalties as well.
Yeah.
You can tell he played five-a-side growing up, and that's what I love about Harry Kane. He always goes for the corners properly. His technique is always right, always aiming low. And I love that because it goes to show how five-a-side can actually genuinely help your footballing ability as well. So Harry Kane, I'm not going to say anything bad about him. I love Harry Kane. I genuinely think he is a man that will overtake Alan Shearer's record as the top Premier League goal scorer of all time. I'm going to have to get you on for another podcast to talk about strikers for another time, Joe.
I'd love to.
Needs to be done, man. If you go for Kane, I have to go for my man for all time, Gareth Bale.
Oh yeah, good shout.
Because if anything, if you do pick Son, fair enough. You have Son, Rooney, and Ronaldo up front. No, Son, Rooney, and Kane up front. I need Gareth Bale. I need Cristiano Ronaldo up there, and I'm gonna have to think of my last one very, very quickly. But Gareth Bale, man, I loved him during my school days when he was at Tottenham. I loved him during my college days when he was at Real Madrid. I loved him during my adult years as a Real Madrid player and going for Wales as well. Because he's someone that whenever you watch him in a Spurs shirt, you remember how long he's been playing professional football, top tier professional football, how he got clattered all the time as a Spurs winger, flying winger. His goal at Old Trafford in your 3-2 win when Dembele kind of ran the show and Gareth Bale scored that amazing goal past Rio Ferdinand as well. I'm thinking if you've got Rio Ferdinand in your team, I need a fast-paced merchant who can score goals, who can take on players, who's quicker than anything. And you can see my kind of theme that I'm going for with pace, with Walker, Dembele, Gareth Bale, and Ronaldo. Gareth Bale just needs to be in there. You need a bit of balance in there with a left-footed attacker and a right-footed attacker as well. So, yeah, Gareth Bale. Who's your final picture?
Yeah, great. I mean, great choice. That goal, 94th minute goal against West Ham that he scored in his first spell at Spurs. He's got a volley against Stoke as well, where it kind of comes down from high up and he just gets his foot right over the top of the ball, kind of almost 90 degrees. Like, yeah, incredible. Hat-trick against Inter Milan. It's given Tottenham fans some of their best memories ever.
Retired Maicon.
Yeah, literally retired Maicon, who was arguably the best fullback in the world for a couple of years.
Yeah, he won the Champions League the season before as well, and then Gareth Bale just came up to that. Now you're done, mate. This is my time. And that's when Gareth Bale just introduced himself on the world stage in that game, which is iconic and still iconic to what he's done. And
so
I always love him because he scored that overhead kick against Liverpool as well. So always rings in my heart as well, Gareth Bale. So nicely done, Gareth.
So my final pick, and I think this could be what causes us to lose the match.
Okay.
Because I know this is heart over head, but I mentioned him earlier. It's my favourite Tottenham player of all time, Raphael van der Vaart. Now, I don't think he's a good five-a-side player. He's not very fit. Five-a-side rewards fitness. But he's, like I say, he's part of that generation of players. And he came from Madrid. He was 27 years old. Spurs had never signed a player that everybody around the world knew. It's like if you play Football Manager, you know who Raphael van der Vaart is. If you watch foreign football, you know who Raphael van der Vaart is. And he came at the height of his powers to Spurs. And he was fantastic. Technically a brilliant player, but also the sort of player that I love because a bit overweight. I like a slightly tubby genius. Like there's nothing like it. He's a bit overweight. He was a bit slow. He was a bit unfit, but he always played with a massive smile on his face. Scored some really important goals. Loads and loads of fun. And in all his interviews, as with quite a lot of Dutch players, used to be really like proper funny. And I saw like Spurs fans love him, and still like when he turns up at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium now, he still gets standing ovations if someone spots him in the crowd and stuff. So yeah, I know he's going to be useless as a five-a-side player. He might score one unbelievable goal from distance, but apart from that, he's not bringing anything to the team. But yeah, Van der Vaart.
Van der Vaart. No, I did like him as well. He's a fantastic player to watch, and like you said, he was a world famous player at the time as well. But it was one of those things that I thought, you know what, when Van der Vaart came to the Premier League, it was a breath of fresh air because it showed Tottenham's ambition at the time as well. And it was an odd one because you had Peter Crouch up front or Jermaine Defoe up front, then you had Van der Vaart behind, you had Modric, you had Huddleston or Palacios, then you have Gareth Bale on the left, Aaron Lennon on the right, and you're just kind of there thinking, such a mismatch, but I do like it. It's a very good FIFA team to have as well, and he did improve the team a lot. I think he got to the semi-finals of the FA Cup in one of the seasons where Van der Vaart kind of did it, and then Chelsea beat you at Wembley, and then League Cup final, I think it was the year before, or the League Cup semi-final you got to with Van der Vaart, and obviously that win at Emirates as well, that was due to kind of Van der Vaart.
That's the goal that made him a legend at Spurs. Yeah.
That was in that grey and black kit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing. Shout out Yunus Kabul for getting the winner as well. We love it.
Big Yunus.
Definitely. Oh man, you've put me in a predicament now because I don't know who I can pick. So I've got Ronaldo, I've got Bale, I've got Mr. Dembele, I've got Kyle Walker. I think I need someone to just tie it all together. But who do I get to tie it all together? Do I go for, when I say it out loud, it's going to sound stupid, but do I go for Paul Scholes?
That's
or do
what I was
go
thinking.
It's got to be Paul Scholes because I'm thinking of Christian Eriksen, who I love. I adore Christian Eriksen, and I think it's fantastic. I think at the end of the season, when football shirts get to that clearance prices like 45 quid, I'll get a Christian Eriksen shirt. That's pretty cool. That's the life hack right there. Wait till the end of the season because you know if that season has been a good season or a bad season for you, so you remember it better in the future. That's a life hack there as well, which is quite good. If we're talking five-a-side, I think if you've got Luka Modric, I need someone to combat it when we get the ball. So I think I've got to go for. Nah, you know what? Ever since Paul Scholes sucked his daughter's toes, I've not been a fan of him. I'll be real. I didn't like what he did. I thought that was odd. I thought it was very odd. I'm going to show my heart over head and my current bias at the moment for Christian Eriksen as well. I could have gone for Rashford, could have gone for Bruno Fernandes. Jadon Sancho would have been the ultimate modern type of five-side player as well. Could have gone for. I don't want to go for anyone else. Yeah, Christian Eriksen. We've both gone attacking. We've both gone fast and furious, and I love it. It's refreshing to see that we haven't gone conservative. We haven't cared about how many goals we're conceding. We're going all out for it. So, yeah, Christian Eriksen is my guy. But what's your favorite memory of Christian Eriksen from a Spurs point of view?
So I mean, to be honest, he kind of dropped off in his last season at Spurs. But he was absolutely instrumental in that run to the Champions League final. And there's just so many examples of him picking up the ball and just picking those through balls when we couldn't, exactly like we can't now, when you can't find your way through a kind of a set defense.
Yeah.
And that's something that Spurs have always really, really missed. But he's a funny player in the sense that I can't think of any outstanding moments like Modric, Bale, all of them. There's moments that spring to mind, whereas Eriksen was just a consistent 8 out of 10 for us. But we still really missed that player, and I thought we should have gone for him when he left Brentford.
Yeah, I think it would have been a fantastic player for you to have got as well, and someone who can play as a number 8 now as well. He would have been that guy to allow Kjellberg to kind of sit in that midfield, or Bentancur to sit in that midfield, and he could have been a bit more expressive going forward as well. So with Christian Eriksen starts his Man United career, I thought it's been amazing. I know people are looking at him. My friend was saying, "Oh yeah, he's not been very good this season, has he?" I was like, "Why do you say that?" It's like, "Oh, because he lost that ball against Brentford." I was like, "That's one moment in the whole season. He's played as a false 9, played as a number 10, he's played as a number 8 and a number 6. Now he's found his place as a number 8 next to Scott McTominay, who eventually will be replaced by Casemiro in the end. But I'm looking forward to seeing how Christian Eriksen does this season because he can play as a number 10, he can set up people. He's a better set piece taker than what we had last season as well. Yeah. And you would know all about that with his free kicks that he would score, with his corners that he would deliver in as well. Big corner taker, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
The Spurs, and a big assist that he made. Was it for Llorente against Man City at the Etihad? He was the one that crossed it in, and it's like the hand.
Where it goes in off his hip or his hand, depending on if you're a City or a Spurs fan.
Yeah, literally that one.
Yeah.
I've always loved Christian Eriksen. I think he's a fantastic player to go for. So just to wrap up our teams, which I think will be hotly contested on social media when we pop this out there as well. It's going to be fun to see who gets the best team. But to run through my team, we've got Kyle Walker, rush goalie, basically. We've got Moussa Dembele, Christian Eriksen in that midfield as well. My friends will be like, why have you not picked any Man United players? Because of diversity. That's why. Diversity. We could have gone for David Beckham. We could have gone for many different. We could have gone for Michael Carrick, to be fair, or Dimitar Berbatov. But I thought, you know what? Go for a bit of variety today. So Kyle Walker, Moussa Dembele, Christian Eriksen, Gareth Bale, and Cristiano Ronaldo. Joe, why don't you run us through your team and we can see who we missed out. We didn't really miss out on many. But who have you got in your team, Joe?
So Rio Ferdinand's rush keeper. Luka Modric in front of him with Harry Kane kind of dipping in central midfield and then bombing up to join Wayne Rooney in attack. And then pretty much playing wherever he wants if he can be bothered. Raphael van der Vaart.
He's at the edge of the little D in goal. He's just there. He's just ready and waiting. Like, give me the ball. I'll just yeet it somewhere. I'll pass
wandering around, cracking a few gags with the ref. That sort of player.
That's how it goes, which would be pretty good. But no, Joe, thank you very much for going through your five-a-side joint Manchester United and Spurs team as well.